Welcome to the new school year. As you begin the school year, the familiarity of campus, your friends, and the big brick buildings welcome you back to Milliken. There will be a lot of unfamiliarity as well. New regulations and guidelines, handfuls of unknowns, and more. None of us have ever been here before, so we need to first understand that grace and boundaries are two of the most important things about self-care. First, we should extend ourselves some grace. Nothing about a pandemic allows us to operate as usual. Second, boundaries will be vital to prevent exhaustion and burnout during this time. When we define self-care, we want to talk about the dimensions of wellness, which can vary depending on the source you're referencing. Physical, psychological, and mental, emotional, spiritual, intellectual, and professional. The goal when looking at the dimensions of wellness is not to say, I need to attain perfection in each of these areas. The goal should be, let me try my best to incorporate practices that make me feel healthy in each of these areas. The best way to be intentional with self-care is to look ahead and anticipate what your needs will be. Here are some examples of how you can improve your practices in each area. Physical. Eat 3 meals per day by adding it to your schedule and meeting with a friend for lunch. Hold spaces in your schedule during foreseeable, challenging weeks, like requesting ahead, not to proctor, if you know you're going to have a hard time with your midterm the next day. Psychological or mental. Schedule ahead with the Student Mental and Behavioral Health Center about 4 weeks into classes. Take time to yourself to acknowledge and affirm your experiences. No one can tell you that your experiences are invalid. Spiritual. Make yourself aware of the non-material aspects of your life without comparing to the lives of others. Contribute to causes you believe in. Intellectual. Put dates from your syllabi into a calendar or planner. Ask for help from an SI, tutor, or the CAP, not just classmates and friends. Limit extracurricular activities that do not excite you. Separate your work and tasks from your inherent worth as a person. My personal philosophy on self-care includes planning ahead, writing things down, and having an accountability partner to hold me to my self-care goals. I have to be realistic with myself and know that quiet time is difficult, so I need to schedule it, and then I need to text my friends and let them know that I'm having that quiet time. If I don't follow these steps, it's really hard for me to follow through. Practicing self-care also includes setting those boundaries. We often feel that setting boundaries means shutting people out. Instead, it can be helpful to transform our thinking by saying, I'm not shutting someone out. I'm simply giving myself permission to dedicate time to my growth. Regardless of whether you think so or not, another person who needs you does not need to need you 100% of the time, even if it is nice to be needed. We have to encourage each other to set and stick to boundaries so we can all be healthy. The most difficult realization for me when I struggled setting boundaries was understanding that I felt angry at my friends who told me they couldn't spend time with me. That feeling of anger was actually jealousy, and I felt that towards my friends who had learned to say, not right now. And that's the thing, a boundary can say not right now. It doesn't have to just say no. It's up to you to determine what a boundary means and the impact it has on your relationships. Some boundaries you have to learn to set might include a phone on Do Not Disturb means that you're not available. Using the phrase, are you looking for advice or just a listening ear, allows you to determine if you have enough emotional capacity to help someone or to hear what they are saying. And asking a friend if they have the emotional capacity to listen to your story. This is good modeling. A TikToker with amazing discussions on boundaries is psychologist Dr. Janine Kreft, or at Kreft's Couch. She models back and forth conversations with folks who have a hard time understanding your personal boundaries. Here are 2 examples of videos from Dr. Kreft.
I frequently get asked, what do I do if so-and-so pushes on my boundary? So it's not enough for us to set a boundary the first time, we have to reinforce it, whether that be through communication or behaviorally. Let's take an example. Perhaps you have a friend or family member that frequently shows up unannounced. You communicate that you would prefer to set a time to meet ahead of time, and they initially agree. So you think, all good, that wasn't so hard. And boom, they show up again unannounced. It's kind of like a child. We are gonna subconsciously push boundaries to figure out where the lines are. So they might not even be aware that they're doing it. This is where you have a choice. If you give in and let them in, that subconsciously tells them, the boundary isn't so strict. However, if you hold your ground, as uncomfortable as it might be, they probably won't do it again. Unfortunately, I can't meet at this time. We have other things going on. I'd love to plan a visit. Do you struggle with guilt when setting boundaries? Oftentimes, this is an indication of not feeling worthy of setting the limit and coming from some sort of programming where you've had to put others first or manage their emotional reactions. Part of healing from this is to set boundaries. And if you feel guilty, observe it, notice it, don't make it right or wrong. The more you speak up for yourself, you will begin to believe that you deserve it. As in, once you tell yourself something enough, you believe it.
Boundary setting will be especially helpful and necessary to maintain your self-care throughout the pandemic. If you haven't stopped by my office recently, I hung a sign that asked folks to wear a mask over their nose and mouth before entering. I set this boundary primarily as a CDC guideline, but also because I'm considered immunocompromised. I plan to refuse to meet with a person if they cannot abide by this guideline or boundary because it will risk my health more than it would the average healthy person. However, it is vital that I continue to do my job. I will reinforce this boundary with people who want to meet with me, and I will discuss it with my supervisor. I plan to receive pushback from others, but I plan to stick to my boundary. I could create a video series on self-care, but instead I'm just planning to stick to modeling that for others. I have sent someone in your chapter a self-care assessment that each of you can complete. I will also share some fantastic and helpful resources that you can revisit at a later time. Don't forget to stop by my office and say hi. I'll see you there.